Hello and welcome to all our viewers from around the world. I'm Kristen Schwartz, licensed midwife and MC here at Gold Midwifery. And I am so excited. I have two amazing midwives here with me today. We have Barbara Harper and Charlotte Sanchez. Welcome, the two of you.
Thank you so much, Kristen. It's a pleasure to be with you again.
Thank you. It's lovely to see you both. Barbara, let me start with you. It's such an honor to have you back here at Gold. And I know you've been very busy in the last few months and, years here. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you've been up to. Of course, many of our viewers know you. You're an amazing midwife. You travel the world teaching on water birth. But give us a little overview and tell us what you've been working on recently.
Well, one of my passions is also hypnosis and bliss-born birth hypnosis courses. And I set up and facilitated a teacher training along with a water birth training in Merida, Mexico in November. My host was Dr. Felix Molina, who had the water birth workshop in 2018, and then he hosted it in 2019, and it changed his entire life. So he begged me to come back and we were planning on one in 2020. And of course, everybody's plans got put on hold, and we had a year of a retreat. I used my COVID year to study, to take classes, to write, and to develop more workshops, and all of that is going to be put out to the public in kind of a drip system. But I have to tell you, I went to Merida, Mexico in November of 2021, and we had 45 physicians and midwives from Mexico and Colombia, from Bogota, Colombia. And I had 3 days with them for water birth training. And then we had 2 days off. And I had them again for 4 days for hypnosis teacher training. And it was monumental. It was transformational. We had doctors weeping, saying, why don't they teach us this in medical school? And doctors sending me messages always with the water birth workshops. And it was just so good. And I got to swim in the cenotes and go hiking. And so we've got big plans for Mexico for 2022 with more workshops of both water birth and blissborn, and some retreats that are going to happen. So come and bring your snorkel equipment and sit with me on the beach in the Yucatan. And so I'm just really excited. And I also got to Dubai and Istanbul and Cairo for the whole month of December. I was out on the road, and I did not contract COVID. My immunity has built up, and I'm good, and I'm not afraid to travel and fly anywhere at any time. So I'm back on the road.
Beautiful. Well, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. You are such an inspiration teaching all over the world. And Charlotte, now to you. Tell us a little bit about yourself. You're an expert on breech birth, and this is our topic here, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. But tell us a little bit about yourself and your calling.
Well, thank you so much for asking me to be on. I actually have been really busy for 30 years just practicing with a home birth practice. I did start out in the earlier years co-directing a birth center, and it was a freestanding birth center, and then went back into just private home birth practice and moved across the country and rebuilt a practice here in Georgia.
Mhm.
So I would love for future endeavors to be some traveling with Barbara, and we've spoke about a few different things and kind of in the works. And I'm really excited. But I was really honored to be asked to do this endeavor with her, with you at Gold. And as far as Breech, I started out in the earlier years having a surprise breech, and that's when I really delve into my studies. And then here we are today. That's led me to where we are now, and I've already taught other workshops and spoke about Breech, and now I'm today here, and I want to expand it even more.
Wonderful. Thank you. And you brought up something really important there. You had this surprise reach, right? And that changed everything. And you studied and dove right into the topic and really made it yours there. And it's such an it's that's how things happen, right? And how often many of us have been at that point that we know we were palpating, everything was good, and all of a sudden, oh, there is the surprise breach, and we need to
Yes.
be prepared for that. And I feel like we don't have enough training. I can't speak for everyone here, but like sometimes, I'm practicing in the state of Florida where we are only allowed to have a breech. We're not allowed to facilitate any breech births, but we need to be prepared in a home birth setting for if there is a surprise breech, right? So training is utmost important and knowledge is important. And I'm
Right.
so excited that you're contributing to this here at Gold and not only talking about breech, but also breech water birth. And so you're combining two of the elements here, Barbara and you, and this is really, really exciting for us here. So tell us what you are going to be talking about. Who wants to start first? Maybe Barbara?
Yes, because it was truly my idea. I mean, you contacted me and asked me if I'd be interested in presenting this year. And I said, yes, but only on the breech water birth, but only if Charlotte could join me to illustrate with some of her cases. Because I also had a breech water birth about 13 years ago that was a surprise breech. It was, and I'm not going to tell that story in the presentation. And so I started taking courses. And the last big workshop that I attended was the Teach the Breech in Amsterdam, where all of the most amazing people like Sean Walker and the people that you're having on your breech add-on. And I want to recommend that to everybody. You must go to the breech add-on with Gold Midwifery, with Betty Ann Davis and Sean Walker and Anke Reiter. It's just going to be absolutely amazing. And that's what the conference was. And I've gone to other things in Frank Lowen's workshops and really understood that if I'm attending a breech or a surprise breech, because I go all over the world and people put me in delivery rooms in hospitals in China and hospitals in Egypt and hospitals in Dubai. And they asked me to, in Saudi Arabia, they asked me to be in charge. And so I want to be prepared. And not just that, but Stuart Fishbein asked me why I'm studying breech. And I said, because I want to encourage people to take the workshops, and I want to encourage the providers who know breech to teach the breech. And I think that's my last sentence in when I looked at the research in this presentation. I put it in big bold letters: teach the breech, because normalize it. It's a variation of normal, and that's what this workshop is about. It's using water and or knowing when to get in, when to get out, what maneuvers to do. And I could not do that without Charlotte.
Yes, Charlotte. And your thoughts to this topic?
Well, I know that there's a lot of midwives that are conservative, and they think that they, like are trying to avoid having a surprise breech. But when it happens to you, it's really important to remember, the necessary things to help baby be born. And we could all end up there. And so that is the biggest reason why I decided to teach. I want to know, I'm like a sponge and I want to know everything that I can, and then I want to share it. So that's what's brought me here to you today, is to share all of that wisdom that I can. But I also think that it's really important that everyone seeks out these workshops and these classes, because they need to remember what they're learning, and it's not just from one person teaching it. I think that they should take several classes on it and touch on it, because even if they don't plan to do a breech, they may be faced with it. And water birth is so popular now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to keep happening. And I've had midwives call me and say, I never expected this to happen to me, and I just need to go through this with you. And, did I do okay? And, I and it's good to debrief with midwives over that. And that's why I chose to take this on, was because, like, I don't want to hear about negative outcomes. I want to hear about positive outcomes, and not because they're planning them, but because they knew what to do when they were faced with it.
Yeah.
It's
Knew what to do. Yeah, exactly.
It's
Go
a
ahead,
little
Barbara.
bit. Yeah, Betty Ann Davis and I had this discussion that we were sitting in someone's living room in Amsterdam, and she was describing, each one teach one, and the efforts that the Breech Without Borders and the Breech Birth Network in the UK are doing. And I said, it's exactly what we did when we started water birth. We started the workshops, and we started training midwives and teaching it. And look where water birth is today. And by bringing water birth and breech together, whether you facilitate it in the water or out of the water, that's not important. The important part is we're bringing this forward and saying it's possible. Just like we said in the beginning, birthing the baby in the water is a possibility. And so we're saying birthing a breech baby in the water is a possibility too.
Yes.
Yes. And you brought up such a good point there. Look how far we come with water birth. I mean, when you started out, Barbara, probably people were thinking, what is she doing in the water? Oh my goodness. And now,
Yeah,
because people
exactly.
became informed, and, we're giving them the research, we're giving them the information, and now look where we are. So our hope is, of course, now we have the research, we have the information for breech, that, as Barbara said, it's a variation, it's a normal variation of normal, that maybe in a few years we're going to sit here again and talk, and we will say, look where we are now. That is my hope.
This is how
Absolutely.
Charlotte and I met in one of my workshops, and she's come back to my workshop several times, and we've become friends over the last 10 years or so.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much to the two of you for being here with me today, talking about this amazing work you're doing. And I want to talk briefly about the presentation here that you will have at the Gold Midwifery Conference, which is not only a presentation, it is the keynote presentation, the opening keynote presentation, titled Breech Water Births, Perspectives and Controversy. And the wonderful part about this is also that the presentation is open access, so everybody can join and enjoy the presentation. And you will be presenting twice that day. Of course, everything is recorded. If anybody who's listening has to be is going to a birth or catching babies or is busy, of course, we have the recording available as well. So I cannot tell you how excited I am, how I am looking forward to this. And we will get started on February 1st, and you will be opening the Gold Midwifery Conference for us here. So thank you both so much.
Thank you for this opportunity, and we look forward to seeing everybody. Please join us.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. And for our viewers now, if you would like to find out more about this amazing keynote presentation and, of course, the other presentations in the conference, we invite you to visit goldmidwifery.com. There you'll find all the times in your time zone and detailed information on the presentations and the speakers. Thank you, everyone, for watching, and I hope to see you at the conference. Bye-bye, everyone.